They say marriage is the natural destination of love, a milestone that completes a life. But what if some people don't see it that way at all? What if choosing not to marry isn't loneliness, but a quiet, deliberate form of self-preservation? In a world that celebrates togetherness, why do some people walk a different path? Without regret? Without explanation? Is it fear? Freedom? Or something deeper, rarely spoken about? There is a silent narrative behind this choice, and today, that silence will be understood. Let's begin.
There comes a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when you realize your path does not echo the world around you. It might begin in small ways, a conversation about weddings that feels distant, a future imagined by others that doesn't quite feel like yours. They say everyone wants love that leads to marriage, that it's only a matter of time. But what if time passes and that feeling never arrives? Instead, there is something else. Not
Every visible choice has invisible roots. What looks like a simple decision from the outside, I don't want to marry, often carries layers of quiet history beneath it. Sometimes it begins in childhood, not through words, but through observation. The tone of voices behind closed doors, the silence that followed arguments, the way affection slowly faded into routine or distance. You may not have understood it then, but something within you was paying attention. They say marriage is companionship, but what if what you witnessed felt more like endurance? A slow erosion, like a river wearing down stone over time. Or perhaps it wasn't conflict, but absence. A household where connection felt conditional, where emotional closeness came and went without warning. And somewhere within, a quiet question formed. Is this what love becomes? For others, the roots are more personal.
Not all distance is avoidance, and not all closeness feels like home. Some people are not running away from marriage. They are moving towards something else, something quieter, something more internally aligned. Psychology often speaks in patterns, attachment styles, emotional regulation, the need for autonomy. But beneath these terms, there is a simple human truth. Some individuals feel safest when their sense of self remains untouched. For them, identity is not something easily shared. It is carefully built, layer by layer, like a structure that took years to stand on its own. And the idea of merging lives, of intertwining routines, decisions, emotional worlds, can feel less like connection and more like a slow blurring of boundaries. Is it a fear of intimacy or a deep respect for personal space? Those with a strong need for autonomy often experience closeness differently. They may value connection, but in measured, intentional ways. Too much proximity, too much expectation can feel overwhelming. Not because they don't care, but because they feel deeply and need space to process that depth. There is also the psychology of self-sufficiency. A life built independently creates its own rhythm. Decisions are yours. Time is yours. Silence is yours. And over time,
From the outside, it can look certain, calm, decided. A life chosen with clarity. But beneath that surface, there are moments no one sees.
quiet nights where questions return. Not loudly, but like a distant echo that never fully fades. What if things could have been different? What if connection didn't feel so complicated? They say choosing your own path brings freedom. And it does. But freedom, too, has its own weight. Because when you step outside the expected script, there are no clear reassurances waiting for you. No familiar milestones to measure your life against. No collective rhythm to follow. Just space. Wide, open, and sometimes
There comes a point, not sudden, not dramatic, when the questions begin to soften. Not because every doubt has been answered, but because something deeper has settled within. The need to compare, to measure your life against others, slowly begins to fade. And in its place, a quieter question emerges. What does fulfillment actually feel like to you? For so long, fulfillment was described in singular terms: marriage, partnership, a shared life. But what if meaning is not a fixed destination, but something more fluid, like water, taking the shape of the life it fills? You begin to notice things differently. Connection that doesn't require permanence, moments of intimacy that exist without obligation, friendships that hold depth without expectation. A different kind of belonging, not built on roles or titles, but on presence. And slowly, the narrative shifts. A life without marriage is no longer seen as incomplete, but as open. Open to experiences that don't follow a script. Open to relationships that evolve freely. In the end, not every life follows the same rhythm. Some are built in shared spaces, two lives woven together, growing side by side. And others unfold in quieter ways. Not lacking, not waiting, just different. There is a quiet kind of wholeness that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't need to be understood by everyone. It simply exists, like a still lake beneath an open sky. To choose not to marry is not always a statement. Sometimes it is a feeling, a subtle alignment between who you are and how you choose to live. And that alignment is not always easy to hold, because the world often speaks in one voice, telling you what a complete life should look like. But your life speaks in another, softer, more personal, unmapped, and yet no less real. There is courage in walking a path that does not come with clear validation. There is strength in holding on to a truth that others may not fully understand. And there is peace, quiet, steady peace, in realizing that fulfillment does not need to be witnessed to be real. Perhaps wholeness was never about finding someone to complete you. Perhaps it was always about recognizing that you were never incomplete, that nothing is missing, only differently arranged. And in that understanding, the silence around your choice no longer feels heavy. It feels yours.
If this video made you feel seen, if parts of this reflection felt familiar, or if something quiet inside you was touched, know this: you are not alone in this experience. There are paths that are less spoken about, less celebrated, but no less meaningful.